How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Rolling Lines, an Apples and Genos production, the only after dark afternoon live show in the fantasy hockey universe. My name is Josh Hutchinson, and I'll be your host. Today, Gugsy and I will be discussing must-make moves, power play deployment, zero-G targets, and we'll be taking mailbag questions. So without further ado, let's go. Gugsy, how you doing, buddy? It's been a little while.
It's been a while. It's good to be back on this beautiful show. Thank you for having me again. And man, this is such an exciting time of the fantasy year. Literally like Christmas. I just love everything about this time of the year, with the weather, with the waiver wires, with your opponents being angry at their Zach Hymans and wanting to sell them low. It's a great time of year. How you doing, man?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I guess I am one of those people that's getting angry about some things. I have one team where I've got Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, John Tavares, and just all of these people that went on the injured reserve or missed games last week. Got a lot of shares in Andrei Svechnikov, so he only played one game last week. It was just really there were a couple of matchups where I lost, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I mean, was nothing I could do there, but it was extremely frustrating. But overall, I actually had a pretty good week last week in terms of fantasy hockey. I think out of my 5 dynasty leagues and 5 redrafts, I think I won 7 of my 10 matchups. So it's
Wow.
overall, I'm nitpicking, but it still just gets at my craw a little bit.
I'm jelly. I also have 10 leagues. I only won 3 out of my 10 matches.
Oh no.
And same boat. It's like everyone's injured. A bunch of guys only play one game. And I was like, man, do I suck at this? What am I doing?
Yeah.
But, just looking at it, it's the first week. Everything's a mishmash. Teams don't have their legs. I don't take the first week or two personally, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of in one of those weeks right now too where it's actually one of the leagues it's the Fantasy Puck Content Creators League, which is so frustrating. Last year, I had a really frustrating year where my team was pretty decent, but I just kept getting the worst matchups and just couldn't get over the hump. And this week it's like I have Matthews and Marner on this team, which they have. It's been high profile that they've had slow starts. Marner had a good game the last game, but Matthews still is not on the score sheet.
Yep.
And that really hurt me last week. And I lost by a very small margin. The other guy had Sam Montembeault, Connor Hellebuck, Casey DeSmith in a league where wins and shutouts are worth a lot. And just I had no chance. So that was a bummer. So when your top guy's not going, it's really hard to get traction. That's for damn sure.
When your top guys aren't going and their waiver wire studs get a 48 save shutout, you're just done. You're done.
Yeah, against your top guy as well, right? Like that certainly doesn't help. So yeah, I mean, we could talk about just a few things that happened in the first stretch of games in the league. There are 3 undefeated teams in the league still.
Surprising.
The Dallas Stars, who are 4-0, the Winnipeg Jets 3-0. That's a little surprising, but I mean, Winnipeg, I think we all expected to be at least in the conversation for the playoffs, so not crazy. I mean, they beat Edmonton 6-0, which was a bit of a surprise, but and then the big surprise is the Calgary Flames are 4-0. And I don't know if you've watched any Calgary Flames hockey over the last little while, but they actually look pretty good. I mean, I don't know. They look pretty solid. They're playing hard. They're playing together. Jonathan Huberdeau is scoring points, which is massive for them.
That's nuts. Is he back? Do you buy this? Is he back? Are you picking him up?
Say. It's such a small sample size. I'm probably not picking him up yet.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I'm not picking him up because Calgary has a bad schedule right now. They only have one game left this week, but I mean, that's a guy. That's a guy that I am looking at because I mean, he's doing it every game.
Yeah.
Him and Pospisil are doing the thing 5v5. He's playing on power play one, so it's hard to deny that I don't know. Maybe there's something there with Jonathan
Maybe.
Huberdeau again.
This one of
Yeah,
those might be one of those guys where you pick up. It's like my opinion of cryptocurrency. I just bought cryptocurrency because I didn't want all my friends to become millionaires with me being like full
yeah.
of shit. You know, that's Huberdeau right now. I'll buy some shares of Huberdeau. I don't believe in him, but in case he goes through the roof, at least I have a share or two of Huberdeau.
I did get him as a throw-in in a trade in one of my dynasty leagues, and that is feeling pretty good right
Okay,
now
not
in the
bad.
off season. So I'm
Ooh,
pretty jacked about that.
ballin'.
And then there are three teams that are yet to win. The San Jose Sharks are one, not really that surprising, especially with Celebrini out. And then the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators. Those are a bit of a surprise. Nashville, I mean, you you got to think that there's like a bit of growing pains in terms of all of the turnover of the roster. I think they're going to figure it out and they're going to be fine. Their power play has looked very good. They just have a 3% shooting percentage right now. So it's hard to, when I look at the underlying numbers, Nashville does look very good. It's just a matter of getting in
Popping
sync
off,
and for bounces to start going in.
Yeah.
The Colorado Avalanche look really bad, like really, really bad. It's tough right now. And again, part of that is injuries. Don't have Lehkonen. They don't have Landeskog. They don't have Val Nichushkin. Right now, they don't have Jonathan Drouin even. They've got Ross Colton on the top line, which, I mean, Nate is very excited about. And frankly, I think you should be. But boy, oh boy, does the forward depth on that team look bad. And honestly, the top guys are not playing well either. Cale Makar has looked terrible. Mikko Rantanen has had a hat trick in the first game. Nate McKinnon doesn't really look like himself. I think he's just probably just frustrated. But yeah, Cale Makar does not look himself at all. He came out in the media. He was like, if I didn't play today, maybe we would have had a chance to win. Like just
Damn, dude.
crazy mental hurdles that they're trying to get over right now.
Yeah.
Georgiev is the worst goalie in the league, and Jared Bednar just like refuses to start Justice Annunen. It's fascinating to watch that team right now, but it is ugly.
Oh yeah. I got Annunen shares all over, and I'm like, can you please give this guy a start? You know, I'm so sick of Georgiev letting in 10 goals on 4 shots, and then Justice comes in totally cold. So you're not really giving him a fair shot. Let him expect a start or two. I'm kind of frustrated just holding this guy, and then he comes in midway and just ruins my week. But I still believe I'm going to hold on to him. I don't think Georgiev's a good goalie, and I feel like that net is prime for the taking.
Yeah, I mean you gotta hope so, but I don't know, man. It really seems like Bednar is hell bent on putting him in the net. But man, if he keeps letting in 5-6 goals a game, like what other choice do you have at this point?
Capo Kakinen?
Yeah, I guess Capo Kakinen. Yeah. It's not good over there. Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Sam Reinhart lead the league in points with 8. And then there are 3 guys with 7 points. Evgeny Malkin turning back the clock. Ivan Barbashev and Artemi Panarin. That Barbashev Stone Eichel line looks very, very good so far so far this year. I don't know. Have you caught any Vegas hockey?
Just highlights, but yeah, they look like they're clicking quite a bit. That looks like the power play to be on right now. At least anytime Eichel performs like this, that's the power play to be on. But we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, for sure. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about Filip GOALstavsson. I'm wearing a Filip Gustafsson Belleville Senators jersey in his honor. But with Filip Gustafsson with the goalie goal, I have a lot of shares in Gustafsson this year. He's looked very good to start the year, which is exciting.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Wild have looked pretty good all around, which is exciting for them. But Yeah, you love to see a goalie goal.
Totally.
The only thing when I see one with a guy that I have lots of shares in is like, why isn't this a category? I
Right?
wish I got points for this. I should
Something.
get points for this in some way, shape, or form.
Totally.
But
It should be worth more points. I don't know why. It
it's
seems like such an easy thing to program into your app. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to
it,
me.
it should be one of those things. Do you ever play like that pop pop up 100 or whatever? Do you know that, or like I don't even know what it's called. Nate to know, he's a baseball guy. Where you like there's a guy like hitting balls and you're all in the field with baseball gloves, and you say like 50 points, this many points, and then you go like jackpot, and you hit it, and then that's like if you catch it you win. Basically, it's kind of like that, or like the golden snitch in Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
That's a better example. It should be like that. You win your matchup if your goalie scores a goal.
Oh
that's
yeah,
that's what
totally.
it should be.
Especially a power play goal. You win the next two matchups if your goalie scores a power play goal.
Oh yeah, that would be sick. So Filip Gustafsson has more goals right now than Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, Cale Makar, and Elias Pettersson.
Yikes.
That is a fun list.
Would
It's
you
still
one
early,
for
though.
one? Would you one for one Gustafson for Pedersen right now? You're getting Pedersen
A-
back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question in my mind.
Good. Well, I'll tell some of my fellow Vancouver fans because they are not happy with Petey right now. I think they'd probably take Gustafson over Petey right now.
Yeah, well, I think I have a question in the Discord about Elias Pettersson, so we'll have to we'll have to take a we'll get to that at some point. Let's go to shift change. So we're just gonna do a quick add and drop each, just for the rest of the week. Just someone that we've been looking at, and that we can discuss a little bit. So my ad of the week right now is Troy Terry. He is 16% rostered in Yahoo leagues. He has a goal in 2 games. He is 78th in the league in shots per 60 and 34th in individual scoring chances for per 60 at even strength. His average time on ice is just over 14 minutes a game, which is very concerning. It does seem like they're kind of rolling the lines there in Anaheim. And 5v5, he's not getting prioritized. He's playing with Frankfurt, Toronto, and Ryan Strome, which is also not incredibly ideal, but he is on power play 1. They've only had 1 power play through 2 games, so it's kind of hard to tell how they're going to deploy the 2 units because they are kind of evenly split. Trevor Zegras is the other guy I would be looking at. He is getting more minutes. He's playing on the top line, I guess you would say, with McTavish and Cutter Gauthier, I believe. So, I mean, he's certainly an option as well. I like Troy Terry's underlying stats better. The 5v5 deployment is concerning. I just don't. You know what? Greg Cronin can go to hell. He's the new Pascal Vincent this year.
Oh yeah.
I think we're gonna be groaning on about Cronin all year
Cronin
long.
for Cronin.
Groaning for Cronin. It's extremely frustrating. But you know what? Anaheim's schedule is too good to finish out the week. They have 3 games, 3 off nights starting tonight. So you got to pick up a duck, and if Troy Terry's out there, I think that's a guy that you should be picking up. What do you think, Gugsy?
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, the Ducks are just a turnoff for me for so many reasons, especially that split power play. But like, if anyone's going to score a goal, anyone more likely than anyone else to score a goal on this team is Troy Terry. And yeah, what did you say? They only had 1 power play so far.
I believe so. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's 1 power play. I'll double check.
Okay. Yeah.
They are one of I believe 3 teams that do not have a power play goal yet this season. Actually 4. There's 4 teams. They have had Oh no, it doesn't say. It doesn't say on here. It doesn't really matter. I believe based on last game lines, it seemed like they'd only have 1 power play through 2 games, which is crazy. But
that sounds right.
yeah.
Well, hey, they're due for a power play goal, so if anyone's gonna do it, Troy Terry's your man. Yeah, I like that, especially 16% owned. I didn't realize the whole world was so down on Troy Terry. That's crazy.
The whole world is down on the Ducks.
Yeah.
It's Frankfurt Toronto is the only one that's over 50% rostered right now, which is also a little strange. But he's a bangers cats monster, so that's probably what it is. In Yahoo leagues, it tends to. The stats tend to lean towards category leagues. Guggen, who is your ad of the week?
My ad of the week, I'm excited for this guy. I feel like this guy is at least a midterm hold, potentially a long-term hold, so long as he stays on power play one, and that's your boy Oliver Ekman-Larsson. He's on power play one over Morgan Riley right now. I think a lot of Leafs Nation has been wanting a puck-moving defenseman like OEL. I mean, that was the whole point of Klingberg last year. It didn't really work out because, it's Klingberg. But, even without power play one, I've been impressed with OEL. He's had, 11 shots in 3 games. That's some Doogie Hamilton shot volume right there. And This is a guy you're getting for free. I think he's only 20% owned right now. He's got a game tonight, so if you're listening to this somehow before the Leafs game, I would pick him up ASAP. This could be like a 5th round quality defenseman at ceiling, So I'd roll some dice and pick up OEL quickly.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I actually have in a couple leagues. They only have 2 games left this week, but I think if you're getting exposure to that top power, the Leafs power play, they are actually one of those 4 teams that hasn't scored a goal yet. So that is concerning. But I mean, we've been screaming for some sort of replacement for Morgan Riley for a long time. Morgan Riley is not a shot threat. He doesn't really do anything on that power play. He's a facilitator, but doesn't really do anything that moves the needle. He's just kind of there. And OEL has shown through the first few games that he's got a bomb. He's one-timed a number of pucks, and he is a shot threat there. So that is something that I think will change the look of that power play.
Oh yeah,
probably free up some space for Matthews and Nylander to get some shots as well. So I am looking forward to seeing how that looks tonight. That tonight will be the first look, and we'll see how long it lasts. But no, I'm totally with that pick. I picked him up in a couple spots where he was available, where people hadn't snapped him up already. But yeah, I like that a lot in terms of hopefully seeing something different with the Toronto power play. Jeff Holloway in the chat says, thoughts on Timo Meier. Timo Meier has 3 points in 6 games, and honestly, under the hood looks fantastic. Like he's got shots per 60. He's 14th in the league. Individual scoring chances 4 per 60, 81st. Individual Corsi 4 per 60, 18th. And then his on ice stats are ridiculous. I think he's doing just fine. His average time on ice, just over 17 and a half minutes. He's still playing on the top line, top power play. There's nothing to hate about Timo Meier. Maybe he's not scoring at the rate that you'd love through the first 6 games, but I mean, that's kind of been how New Jersey is. Their bottom 6 has done the majority of their scoring for the first few games, which is crazy. But that will not continue. Timo Meier will be just fine. Don't you worry there, Jeff. Edwin Jung, Bangers League, drop Ekblad for OEL. Ekholm also available. I would say yes.
100%. Yeah.
Doing shit all through the first few games. And they are, I mean, Florida is hell-bent on using anyone but Aaron Ekblad on the top power play. They didn't have they didn't have Adam Bolkvist in practice, so they use Uvis Beliscus or whatever. I don't even know who the hell that guy is. But that is a bad sign for Aaron Ekblad. And I'm willing to admit that I was wrong about Ekblad. And I picked him up in a number of areas in the drafts, and I am not feeling good about it. So I'm really okay with cutting bait on Ekblad, especially for OEL, and even Matthias Ekholm. I think that's not a bad. I like what he does 5v5 over what Ekblad does at this point.
I would rather have Jake Wallman than Ekblad at this point.
Yeah,
Ekblad is nothing. Drop him. He's not worth it right now.
Yeah, he's doing nothing. So my drop, I mean, I could say it was Ekblad, but my drop right now is Blake Coleman. He's 50% rostered still in Yahoo. Only 1 game left this week in Calgary. This is mostly schedule based. He's playing third line minutes. Calgary only has 1 game remaining this week on a jam-packed Saturday, so he's unlikely to make it into your lineup at all this week because he's probably a fringe player on your team in most leagues. Not getting power play time, so that's a guy that I think you could safely drop. That's just I noticed that he was higher. He was more roster than I had expected, and then with the schedule, I think that you could be dropping him for sure.
For my drop, this is a bit controversial because this guy actually has a good rest of week schedule. But I was in this position where I really needed OEL right fucking now, and I know my competition, my enemy league managers, he probably had this guy on their radar. My drop this week is Quentin Byfield. And I know the Kings have a pretty good rest of week schedule, but this guy is getting second power play deployment. He's getting third line even strike deployment. And although I see the ceiling, he really pissed me off when the Kings scored 7 goals and he got donuts. And that was a bit of the last straw for me. But if you're looking at your roster and you're just like, I have no idea who to drop, and Quentin Byfield is the weakest link in your roster, I don't really care about rest of week right now. It's week 2. I'm more thinking at least midterm, and I feel like if you could drop a guy like Quentin for an OEL, I think you make that move, despite the rest of week schedule that Byfield has.
That is a fascinating take.
Yeah.
Not getting power play one time, which is concerning.
Yeah.
They've got Alex Laferriere on there, who we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, I think I still like the upside of Quentin Byfield. But yeah, depending on the league that you're in, I mean, it's not the worst decision in the world for sure. Like I think you could do a lot worse than dropping Quentin Byfield for sure. Dirty Deed 5 says drop Eric Gustafsson for OEL. Absolutely, Eric Gustafsson is getting the full Tony DeAngelo treatment in Detroit, where if he's not if he's in the lineup, he's top power play, but most of the time he's healthy scratched. So it's not great. Most Cider rosterers are probably pretty excited at this point. And then Jeff Holloway again. You think we see an offensive uptick from Brock Faber? I don't know about an uptick. I mean, he's gonna stay on the top power play, and I love Minnesota's top power play. So he's gonna get some. He's going to luck into some points from there. I don't really see him as a big offensive defenseman. He was not touted as that. He just kind of got there by default last year, and then he's still in that position now because there's just no one else. So I think he's probably still like a 45, 50 point defenseman. I don't really see like a breakout for Brock Faber. I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. What do you think, Gugsy?
Yeah, no, I agree. He's kind of fell into power play 1 because they have absolutely no one. I'm actually kind of wondering, like, do you think there's a chance they might get a rental puck moving defenseman to just kind of usurp him sometime this year?
I don't know. You know what I think is probably going to happen is they drafted Zev Buium in the draft last year. And I think that this year they're probably going to ride with Brock Faber, but down the line, that's the guy that's going to run their top power play. Like that's their power play quarterback of the future. Will probably, I mean, may even play top pair minutes with Brock Faber, and that's their top defense pair of the future. But yeah, Ziv Buium is definitely the guy. Like he's a crazy offensive talent out of college. So that's probably the way they're going. I mean, maybe it's possible. Like maybe they pick up like a Tyson Berry or someone like that at the deadline. We'll see.
Do you have any Faber shares yourself?
I do not. I do not have Brock Faber shares. No, I was lower on him than most other people. So he ended up just going higher than where I was willing to take him.
There's always another power play 1 defenseman I would take before him, and same thing. Yeah,
100%. All right, let's go to the power play planner. So this is where we just kind of go around the league. We look at some like interesting power play situations. And we discuss them a little bit and see if we can identify any players that are worth picking up. Buffalo, they've got split power plays and they're disgusting. We've got Tage Thompson, Jason Zucker, Dylan Cousins, Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power on the top power play. Not great. Jack Quinn, Alex Tuck, JJ Peterka, Yuri Kulich, Bowen Byram on power play 2. I actually don't hate that, but mostly because I would prefer Tuck and Peterka on the top power play. Quinn and Kulik are young talents that are exciting, and then Bowen Byram. I love me some Bowen Byram, I don't know, man. I hate splitting power plays.
Yep.
Splitting power plays. It's stupid.
That's awful. It ruins fantasy. I hate it so
Yeah,
much.
man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's the worst. In Calgary, Connor Zary, who's 14% rostered, has replaced Igor Sharangovich on the top power play to start the year, and he's looked quite good. 4 points in 3 games. I guess it's. I mean, I didn't update that. I didn't see how many points he had last night, but he had 4 points in his first 3 games with 19 minutes average time on ice. Individual rates aren't fantastic for Connor Zary, but he is getting some good opportunity there. So I think that's a guy that you could consider picking up. Although, again, Calgary does not have a good schedule to finish out the week. Okay, so he has 5 points in 4 games. So Connor Zary looking very good to start the year, in terms of getting on the score sheet. But yeah, I mean, the underlying stats aren't amazing, but they never really have been for Zary. But he looks very good. If you've watched him play, he looks like a good young talent,
Efficient kind of guy, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like the look of Zary for sure.
If you were in let's say you're in like a 16 team league, super deep league, and you see that Calgary has an awful, not so great schedule rest of the week, but maybe this guy's a long term hold. Would you maybe think of adding him on a team on your team when in a league that deep?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in a deep league like that, that's a guy that definitely should be there. I think anyone that's on a top power play should be on a roster, in leagues that are that deep. In my opinion.
Would you drop Quentin Byfield for him?
Ooh, no, probably
No,
not.
okay,
I'm not yet. I'm not
Not
ready
yet.
for that yet. I don't think.
Gosh.
But yeah, I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
Chicago has actually had a pretty excellent power play. They are ranked. They are tied for 3rd in the league in power play conversion to start the year. And they have a nice little unit going. Teuvo Teravainen, Connor Bedard, Tyler Bertuzzi, Seth Jones, and Nick Foligno playing net front. They've looked, I don't know, pretty good. They've been snapping the puck around, putting it in the net. I don't know, man. What do we think of Chicago's power play unit here?
I think there's some value on there. So I'm a big Bangers Cats guy. 8 of my 10 leagues are Bangers Cats, and I got so much love for Nick Foligno, especially with face-off wins categories. This guy does so much for you, and he's getting points too, which is just crazy. And if you're in a Bangers Cats league, especially one with face-offs, a winger getting you those face-off wins, smashing bodies the way he does, I love Nick Foligno, and he's getting good power play deployment. I love it. I love it so much.
Yep, getting some 5v5 exposure to Connor Bedard again too, which is not something I expected right off the bat. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, especially with all the additions they made on the wing. In Colorado, Ross Colton, 9% rostered, is playing power play 1, line 1 right now. It's dire in Colorado, but jump on Ross Colton while you can. He's a really efficient player who does a little bit of everything, and he's getting some opportunity right now just by default. Detroit, we've got Patrick Kane, Dylan Larkin, JT Compher, Lucas Raymond, and Mo Sider on the top power play. As Justin V says, Compher power play 1 in Detroit, DeBrincat power play 2. That's the only thing I hate about it. Other than that, I like it. They're being deployed like a top power play. They're getting tons of minutes. So, I don't know why the hell you have JT Compher on your top power play when you have guys like Vladimir Tarasenko and Alex DeBrincat. But I don't know. They do weird shit in Detroit. I don't really understand that.
You
team
gotta
at all.
trust the Yzer plan.
I guess so. Columbus also has split power plays, but their top power play has actually been quite good. Cole Sillinger, Sean Monahan, Kent Johnson, Igor Chinnikov, and Zach Werenski is their top unit. They've converted at a 25% clip through 3 games. That honestly, that Chinnikov Johnson Monahan combination has looked pretty solid. I like that a lot. Kent Johnson seems to have taken a bit of a step, at least so far this year. And Igor Chinnikov is scoring pretty well. So those are guys that I'm definitely at least taking a bit of a look at here. I picked up Kent Johnson in Cacuffle, I believe, for the rest of the week. But Yeah, I do think that Adam Fantilli, I would like to see him on the top unit, and maybe Kirill Marchenko as well. But outside of that, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Dean Evison knows what he's doing. I still like this better than whatever the fuck
Yeah,
not Paul Vincent, Pascal Vincent
Yeah.
was putting out there.
No. Yeah,
Who's
I'd
Paul
love to
Vincent?
see Paul. I'd love to see Marchenko.
that a guy?
Paul Vincent is probably like a singer from the '80s that was really big, I assume. But
Yeah, I'm guessing. Now I gotta
no.
look this up.
Go ahead. Look that up. Yeah, I was just gonna say. I think Marchenko. I got a few shares of him. I think he was a little sneaky draft pick. I hope he gets that deployment over Sillinger, but everyone else looks pretty solid on that top power play. Chinnikov, I'm super excited for. So I'm slowly snatching him up wherever I can as his ownership increases. If you still have him on your wire, you likely do. I'd keep him on your watch list at the very least.
Paul Vincent. I mean, there are a number of Paul Vincents. There is I think what it is there's a thrift store in Belleville called Saint Vincent de Paul, and I think that's why it's triggered in my head. It doesn't. I can't figure it out. Whatever. I'm just stupid. Florida with their injuries right now with Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk on the shelf. They've got Sam Bennett and Evan Rodriguez on the top unit, as well as Adam Boqvist still there. Carter Verhaeghe, Sam Reinhart. Sam Reinhart scoring at a ridiculous clip again.
Crazy.
Looking just kind of picking up right where he left off, which is crazy. And that's without Barkov.
Yeah,
either.
it's nuts.
That's the crazy thing.
Out without Tkachuk.
Lundell.
No Tkachuk either. He's the only guy doing anything.
I know, man. It's crazy. So Sam Reinhart putting the Panthers on his back right now. The Sex Panther doing his thing. So I mean, that's looking pretty good. Sam Bennett 47% rostered. Erod 17%. Boqvist still only 9% rostered. So that's a guy that you could pick up for the bottom of your lineup too.
Your opinion on Boqvist getting like 11 minutes a game though? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, he's getting the full.
The Tony D.
Like similar to Eric Gustafsson. I wouldn't be surprised at some point if he starts getting healthy scratched and they put somebody else on the top unit there. But until then, I mean, it is what it is. I think that the way that they have they've set up their defense right now, they've got a top four that's pretty solid, and then that bottom unit of Nate Schmidt and Adam Boqvist is just not getting a ton of time. 5v5. Foligno or Ben in a Bangers Cats league, both left wing only and power play one on their respective teams. Jamie Benn, definitely. I think he's just in a better situation and is a better player.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. If you could do both, that'd be awesome. Like Foligno, he fills the entire right side of your categories sheet better than Ben, but like Ben has obviously way better offensive production. He's obviously lost 1,000 steps since his heyday, but Jamie Benn should be the priority. Think about it this way. I think Blake said it the other week. If you drop this guy, is anyone else in your league going to pick him up? If Jamie Benn's on the wire, he's getting picked up 10 out of 10 times before Nick Foligno. You can afford to let Foligno sit for a little bit, but if Ben is available, you pick him up right now, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I totally agree. The LA Kings, we've got Alex Laferriere playing on the top unit with Kopitar, Kempe, Fiala, and Brant Clark. Brant Clark still only 22% rostered. He's looked pretty good through the first few games. It definitely padded his stats a little bit in that 8-7 drubbing or 8-7 loss against the Ottawa Senators. I almost turned that around. Alex Laferriere has looked really good. I will say I'm still going to waive that. I mean, I'm going to champion that as much as I can right now. He's got just under 17 minutes time on ice. He is 8th in the league in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 to start the year, 33rd in shots per 60. And he has 3 points in 3 games. Nate was not big on Alex Laferriere. Me and Mark Barber and Blake, we were all very high on Laferriere and very excited about it. So
doesn't that feel delicious when you have one over on Nate?
It does feel delicious. It is early. It is early, but I'm gonna champion it for as long as it lasts.
Yeah. Might last a
so
week. Might last a week.
yeah.
Might last a whole season. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy that definitely you should be jumping all over. Like, the people clearly aren't paying attention if he's only 3% rostered, but he's getting line 1, power play 1 deployment. Anze Kopitar is everything he's touching is going in the net right now. So even
That's
if it's
a
just a
sell
bit of
high.
a hot streak, yeah, it's definitely a sell high on Kopitar. But Laferriere under the hood looked really good last year and has looked just as good this year with better deployment. So.
All right, I got a question for you.
What's up?
Leferrier or Byfield? You got to choose one.
Oh, here we go. I knew that was coming.
Huh?
Yeah, that's tough. That's one where I would very seriously consider going with Laferriere just because of the opportunity. Yeah,
The opportunity, the deployment. Yep.
yeah,
Agreed.
for sure. All right. In Minnesota, we have Jeek is out currently. Ryan Hartman getting the opportunity on power play 1, and he scored last night on the power play, which was pretty cool. So that's a guy that you could be looking at picking up for Minnesota. They also only have 1 game left this week, though, so keep that in mind. The Islanders, they've still got Duclair and Siplikov on their top power play with Barzal, Horvat, and Dobson. Anthony Duclair only 15% rostered. You need to rectify that if he's on your waiver wire. He is that line of Barzal, Horvat, and Duclair looks fantastic, and he's getting all of the opportunity that he's never gotten anywhere else, and he's flourishing so far. So, you need to be picking up Duclair. Siplikov, I mean, similar. He's looked pretty solid through the first few games, so definitely be taking a hard look at Siplikov. In Philly, Matvei Michkov had 2 power play goals. 2 power play goals in Philly.
Finally, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Blake's
an accomplishment. Holy shit,
Blake's
that's like landing on the moon.
Blake's hot take about the Flyers having a top half power play is so far is on pace to be correct. They have a 26.7% conversion. They've scored 4 power play goals through the first 3 games. And they're tied for 10th in the league in power play conversion.
Crazy.
So,
That's
pretty
great.
good.
Have you watched a lot of Philly?
I've watched a little bit. I watched a little bit of the game last night against Edmonton.
Yeah, good.
They looked pretty solid. I mean, hard to contend with an Oilers team that are just like, I don't know, when they turn it on at the end of the game.
When they turn on. But, you gotta remember this West Coast Western Canada trip for Easter teams is a slog. They started their season with Vancouver, go 1 million miles to Calgary, go 5 million miles to Alberta. So Philly must be exhausted with all this air travel, and they still held their own against Edmonton. So I'm kind of excited for this team, especially with Michkov on that power play. I'm looking forward to more Philly games.
Yeah, they're a fun, energetic team for sure. And they're like any team with John Tortorella is going to, they're gonna give you everything you can handle. But yeah, Michkov definitely makes that power play a little bit more dynamic. They've got Frost, Konechny, Tippett, and Drysdale on there. Drysdale 8% rostered, Frost 4% rostered. Those are guys that you could consider picking up as facilitators on that power play if they continue to I don't know, convert the way that they're doing. So obviously still early. Don't want to overreact about anything, but definitely keep an eye on the Philly power play. The Pittsburgh Penguins, their power play has been scoring as well, which is a miracle. They've not quite as hot as the Flyers power play, but they have scored 2 power play goals. And they are playing with a 2 defenseman power play with Carlson, Letang, Rust, Malkin, and Crosby. I mean, not much to say about that. None of those guys are really guys that you can pick up right now, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And maybe you consider dropping Ricard Raquel if you have shares of him, or definitely. Michael Bunting or something like that.
I'm a little surprised they got the double defenseman power play still going. I thought Russ would take Letang's spot.
Another team that has a double defenseman power play is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've got Darren Radish in the Steven Stamkos spot on the power play, which kind of solves the problem of the right-hand, left-hand flank issue that I had brought up in the offseason. And I don't know, like we'll see what happens there. That there's not enough of a sample size for Tampa Bay to really figure. I mean, they've scored 2 power play goals. They're just sub 20%. There is going to be some growing pains there just without Stamkos. He's been there for so long in that spot. But if they feel like Darren Radish has enough of a bomb to create space for Kucherov and Hedman and Braden Point and Gensel, then cool. And honestly, you should be considering picking up Darren Radish. He's 1% roster right now. So that's a guy that when Tampa has a good schedule, I might be picking up because
Totally.
any exposure to that power play is very nice.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then last but not least, I mean, we already talked about this. This was your ad of the week. OEL playing on the Leafs top power play. We will see how that goes tonight.
Yep.
Also, Matthew Nyes was playing on the power play as well. But John Tavares looks like he is back in the fold, is going to play tonight. So I would expect him to get back on that top power play. All right. That was a lot, but
It's good. It's good.
we're gonna go from zero to hero now and talk about some 0G targets. We're gonna talk about some guys that are sub 50% rostered in Yahoo that you could be looking to pick up at this point in time. If you went 0G, or if you're just fucking done with the guys that you use draft capital on, here are some guys that you could be considering. Number 1, Tristan Jarry, 46% rostered. I mean, this is a bit of a surprise. Had that 6-0 loss to the Rangers at the start of the year. Pittsburgh has 3 more games this week, and he is getting his second straight start tonight. So that is definitely a signifier that they are, I mean, at least going to ride with him. They at least have gained a little bit more trust in him after his last start. So it's like they had Joel Blomqvist getting 2 straight starts, and you're like, oh my gosh, is he really losing his job to the third goalie after 1 game?
Yep.
But if you look at Money Puck, Jari actually has a positive goal save above expected despite that 6-0 loss, even in only 2 starts. And Blomqvist actually has a negative. So I really just think the Penguins were just awful in front of him in that Rangers game, and he really didn't have much of a chance there. So so I would be that Jari is a guy that I would be looking close at if he's on your waiver wire for sure. What are your thoughts on Jari right now?
Yeah, he's my 0G darling despite that awful shelling against the Rangers. It's the New York Rangers. Come on. You're going to be really that angry against the guy. 0G, I have some leagues I just didn't even draft a goalie, and I just have shares of Jari because he was free. I'm holding on. I'm going to see where it goes. If Blomqvist wins the net, who cares? He was free. And if Jari actually gets at least some league average goaltending, that's good enough for me. So it's kind of my opinion of him. I could take him, I could leave him, but I'll hold on to him.
Yeah, for sure. In Washington, Charlie Lindgren, 39% rostered. Along with Logan Thompson, who is 54% rostered, which is a bit of a surprise. I do still think Charlie Lindgren's the 1A, despite Logan Thompson winning that game against Vegas last night. I think it would take a decent amount at the start of the year for Thompson to steal more starts than Lindgren. I do think this is a straight tandem here, but both of those guys are guys that you could be interested in. But again, not a ton of volume to be had in either case. Yeah. In Vancouver, we've got Shelovs and Lankinen. Shelovs 28% rostered, Lankinen 16. What are your thoughts here, buddy? You're the resident Vancouver fan. What are your thoughts on these two right now? What are the vibes?
I caught some of that Tampa game yesterday, and despite letting in was it 3 or 4? I was playing with my kids, so I was he looked pretty good when I saw him. But since preseason, I personally think it should be Lankinen's net. Lankinen has looked really calm. Only 1 game sample size, but he's looked really good in that 1 game. I was actually expecting Lankinen to get the start against Tampa. I think for sure he's getting the start against Florida. I feel like they're still figuring out, who's our 1A. I got high hopes for Lankinen, and I've just been scooping him up in all my deep leagues. If you could scoop up both, that'd be awesome. If you could scoop up both and have the team settle, they're not gonna go like 0-82. I know they haven't won yet, but like these two goalies could give you huge value. At least one of these two goalies could give you huge value.
Yeah, they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And then another team that's got pretty much a straight tandem: Sam Urson, Ivan Fedotov in Philly. They are really not rostered very highly, and Philly is probably a better team than people think they're going to be. So one of these guys is going to bring some value here. Urson 20% rostered, Fedotov is 13. So those are definitely guys to be interested in. Justus Annunen 16% rostered. We're watching. We're waiting. We're ready. But until they make the call, I'm still probably leaving him on the waiver wire. Lukas Dostal is an interesting one. He's 14% rostered. Anaheim has 3 games left this week, and he, I think, is probably going to be the volume starter. They've only had 2 games, and it was a back-to-back so far this year. So James Reimer got the second game. John Gibson's still out after that appendectomy that he had before the season. So Lukas Dostal, I think, could potentially get 3 more starts this week. So that's a guy that you could. I have the most confidence that he's going to get the most games out of any of these guys. It's just a matter of if you're excited about a goalie on the Anaheim Ducks, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to know. But he, worth noting, he hasn't allowed a goal yet this year. He had a shutout in his only start. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But Lukas Dostal, definitely a guy that I'm looking at as a 0G target right now. Devin Levi, 12% rostered, seems to be in a tandem right now with UPL. They're getting pretty even starts. So that's a guy that I'd be looking at. He probably shouldn't be 12% rostered right now. Peter Mrazek, 11% rostered. Chicago's looked actually not that bad. A lot better than I thought they were going to. They're at the very least competitive in the games that they've played. So Peter Mrazek's a guy that I would definitely be considering picking up as well. And then there's the Columbus tandem: Elvis Merzlikins, 5% rostered, Daniil Tarasov, 1% rostered. In really deep leagues, these are guys that you could be looking at, but they're in a straight tandem as well. So obviously not a ton of volume to be had. But Columbus, another team that has looked a little bit better than maybe we were anticipating to start the year. They've been fairly competitive too. So, but I think Elvis is the 1A, Tarasov is the 1B for now. But I could definitely see that flipping at some point this year.
Oh
yeah. All right, let's go to Hutch versus, or from zero to hero. There are from zero to hero competition. We're kicking things off this week. Gugsy. Who are you picking? So this is actually let's preface this because there's going to be new listeners this year. So what we do is similar to the streamer deathmatch shit that that Nate and Blake do on the weekend shows. What we do here on Rolling Lines is whoever's on the show with me, we pick a goalie that's sub 50% rostered between whenever we record the show this week and whenever we're going to record next week. We use kick-up-full scoring, and whoever has more points gets the win. So, and we'll just look at my record against whoever my opponents are this year, and and we'll see what happens. It's kind of hard to put money on a competition when it's just kind of, I don't know. Anyways, it's really just for bragging rights for me.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's totally just for my ego.
Yeah.
But I did win against my opponents last year. I had a winning record.
What was your record?
Gugsy, you're gonna get. I can't remember what it was. But it
Good
was a winning record. I'll have to look in my notes for proof. But Gugsy, who is your pick of the week? Who is Gugsy's guess this week?
Gugsy's guess, I love it, is Sammy Urson. As we talked about, Philly is a bit under the radar. Everyone just thinks they're going to be bad. Their power play's clicking. They got the Michkov effect. Everyone seems to be buying in. A Torch team always buys in, but this year especially. What I like about goalies is the way their team plays in front of them, how Philly protects the goalie. I saw that in the Vancouver game. I saw a bit of that in the Edmonton game, despite the team being tired. This guy's like, what, 20% or something owned. I'm just into him. I'm gonna give him a bit of a leash. I think he could be the dominant starter, maybe a bit more than a 1A, because I don't know. I don't know if I trust Fedotov right now. We'll see. He's really big. He's really fucking big, so it might be a bit of a threat to it. But as of right now, I'm picking Sammy Urson, and I'm holding on for a bit.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. But my choice is Tristan Jarry. I think you got to go Jarry here. He's getting a second straight start today. Like I said, has a positive goal save above expected despite the 6-0 loss. He's been the better goalie. And there are 4 games now for Pittsburgh between now and next week. So I like that for Tristan Jarry. They're evenly spaced out. There is a possibility he could get all of them. Probably won't. Probably get 2 to 3 starts. But I think the team situation, in terms of all of these options that we talked about, he has the best team situation in front of him. So that's why I'd probably go with Jarry here. But there are a couple other options that I considered. Lukas Dostal is a guy that I looked at too. I think he's probably going to get volume both in the games played and in the shot volume against him. So that's a guy that you could look at too. But I think I'm going to go with Tristan Jarry here. Right. Let's go to Tristan Jarry, Sam Ersson. We will see.
We will see
who comes out on top next week.
We need Blake to do some like guitar solo, make it really like, intense. Me and you fighting it out with AI or something.
Yeah, man. I would love that. I would love to see that. So let's go to the hockey hotline. This is our mailbag segment. This has been honestly a staple of this show since I started the midweek podcast over 3 years ago, or I guess it was 3 years ago now. It's really been the only segment that has stood the test of time, and I love it so much. Let's start with PB Stars. He is in the Discord. He or she, I actually don't know, because I shouldn't assume. Is Jake Neighbors worth holding? And then he follows up by saying, especially when guys like Josh Norris are on the waiver wire, I would probably, like, if I had to choose between these two, if you can fit Josh Norris in your lineup as a center only, Josh Norris would be my preferred guy. PB Stars specifies he. There we go. So we got our answer there. But I would probably go with Josh Norris. In terms of Jake Neighbors in a vacuum, still getting top line, top power play, getting exposure to Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou, which is, exactly what you want in St. Louis. That's an ideal scenario. His individual scoring chances 4/60 rank is 70th in the league, so he is still getting to the dirty areas. Just hasn't been converting. So I don't really hate his situation, but he's probably, depending on the depth of your league, he's probably a fringe roster player anyways. So that's a guy that I might consider dropping, but like not. He's not a definite drop. Like I'm not being like, oh no, he's done. Get him out of here. Yeah. Like for sure. I don't know, man. What do you think about?
No, I agree. I got Neighbors in all my super, super deep leagues, but if you're in a league where someone like Chabot is on the wire, you should probably pick up Chabot instead of Neighbors. At the end of the year, all things considered, I could see both of them being like comparable as far as point production is concerned. But as of right now, I'd rather have Chabot, so long as he could fit a pure center, as you said.
So DB87 says, any thoughts on Mark Stone? What if he stays healthy?
Oh boy, world's
value?
in trouble if he stays healthy. That's huge value.
He probably won't, because that's just the way that Mark Stone is. That's the way that Vegas rolls.
But you know what that means.
That's what you expect with Mark Stone. What does that mean, Gugsy?
That means it's time to sell high while he's healthy, while he's doing these crazy things with his points. Yeah, maybe it's time to sell high. Maybe people are excited and that they forget that he's made of Band-Aids and Scotch tape,
on-ice shooting percentage for him in his line right now, 27.3%. That's not going to continue. But that line is hot right now. We talked about it off the top. Stone, Eichel, and Barbashev, they've been killing it. Mose says, should William Karlsson be dropped for Barrett Hayton? Need goals and assists. Karlsson still injured. Yeah, I probably would do that. If you can't fit him on your IR plus, I'd go with Barrett Hayton. Barrett Hayton's getting way better deployment than Karlsson would be, even when he is healthy. So,
Yep.
so I think that's a good situation there. I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on that?
No, absolutely, absolutely. It's only knock on Hayton is the pure C, but I think Carlson is as well. So whatever, just go for Bear Hayton.
Wick had another question in the Discord about what he said. What's the plan with Ekblad? Worth holding in a 12 team or drop for a streamer D? We kind of already talked about that. The examples he gave were Brant Clark and OEL. Definitely dropping him for either of those guys if they're available. Strowman92 asks, is Shelov's worth a hold, or is the Canucks defense that bad? Gugsy, I'm going to give this to you. This is a question for Gugsy here.
I mean, listen, we got some new faces on our blue line. Rick Tocchet isn't going to let them play sloppy defense for a whole season, and you know what? It seems like the secret might be out on some of Seelov's weaknesses, especially from the playoffs. But he's still playing pretty decent, despite he's let in 4 goals the last 2 starts. Personally, I would rather have Lankinen, but this is kind of a fluid situation, especially at the beginning of the year. If you can hold him, you might, there might be a lot of reward to that. But if you really need a spot to stream, drop him. If you're looking like at OEL on the wire and you have no one else, I would probably pick up OEL for like Seelovs. It's super fluid. It depends on who's on your wire. It depends on the value of your goalies, how many goalies are potentially available to you. So you really got to think about these things.
Yeah, it's hard to get a read on volume there in Vancouver right now. It does seem like they're probably going to do a tandem thing. So so hard to hold a guy that's maybe only going to get 1 to 2 starts a week.
Yeah.
Hard Days Night says, can we drop Cotter? Streamed him in and need to get some more games played. Absolutely, you could drop Paul Cotter. Still getting 4th line minutes. That 4th line is not going to convert the way that they have all season, that's for sure. So Paul Cotter, you can definitely drop him for more games played, that's for sure. T-Dub8 asks, does Lundell go right back to being a middling 3rd liner as soon as Barkov is back? What are your thoughts on that, Gugsy?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thought too. I think that Lundell's being groomed to be a top 6 center probably next year. As soon as next year, Sam Bennett's contract is up at the end of the season, and I mean, although he is kind of like integrated into the DNA of the Florida Panthers, I wouldn't be surprised if he prices himself out.
Exactly, 100%.
And they have to move on from Sam Bennett. So I think that's the plan for Lundell moving forward. Is he's probably going to be the 2C behind Barkov going forward, but. I think that I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but as soon as Barkov's back this year, I think Lundell is back to 3C. DB87 says, could Ekblad not get PP1? Boakfest probably going to get Strasher demoted off PP1 more than likely, unless he lights it up. Again, like I said, they would rather have Uvis Baliscus on PP1. They really don't want to put Ekblad on the top power play. When Boakfest, I will say, when Boakfest went down, in the first game when he got hit in the face with the puck, Ekblad was the guy that they replaced him with on the power play. So,
and they weren't happy.
He might be 3rd on the depth chart there. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, for now, I don't think Ekblad's doing anything. I think if you dropped him, I don't think people are going to be jumping on him on the waiver wire. So I think you're still pretty safe to be moving off of Aaron Ekblad. Absolute Weapon says, what do you think of the Georgiev situation? Ananen worth a pickup in a deep league? We already kind of talked about this, but I mean, until Ananen starts getting starts, I just don't feel like he's worth using an add-on. But Gugsy, if you already got Ananen like Gugsy does, I guess hang on to him.
I have him. I'm holding on in one league where goalies are just stupid. It's like a 14 team league and everyone has 3 goalies. So
Oh yeah.
like if Annunen actually wins this net, that is huge for me to get him for free off the wire. That's the only situation where I would hold him. But if you're just in like a regular redraft league or just a league where goalies aren't stupidly overpowered, you don't need to hold him. I'm just holding him in that league.
Yeah. And then DB87 follows up and says, "Fair, so you support a drop for do you support drop Ekblad for OEL?" Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
yes, 100%. Drysaddle asks, "Will LA ever let Byfield join the top line?" Maybe. I don't really see it happening yet, especially with Kopitar scoring at the rate that he is right now in an unsustainable manner, mind you. But I mean, the team's not going to look at it that way.
Yeah.
So I just don't see, like, he's going to have to do a lot more to supplant Anze Kopitar on the top line there. I mean, Gugsy has been outspoken about how he's not really vibing Byfield right now. So I know
Not
what
vibing it.
your answer probably
No.
is to that question.
I'm all about deployment, man. I need that deployment. He's not giving it to me. I don't like it.
That's right. JM Headley 1988 says, Colton a better hold than McTavish. Interesting question.
That is good.
I'm gonna look at the underlying stats here. Why don't you talk? What are your thoughts on that right now?
Without looking at the underlying stats, short term, 100%. Colton short
Yeah.
term, hold him. It's just, we all know Colorado has no depth at forward. And, Nate's been praising Colton's analytics for years, literally years. And if the coach just gives it to him, it just sticks him on power play 1, potentially even when they have a healthy lineup. That is such a huge return. I would rather hold him at least for the short term and potentially for the midterm. We need a bigger sample size on the Ducks, though, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. So McTavish, his ranks: shots per 60, 296th; individual scoring chances for per 60, 245th. It's getting about 16 minutes average time on ice, which is near the top on the team in forwards. It's top 3 because they're just rolling the lines over there. Ross Colton getting 18 and a half minutes. Individual scoring chances for per 60 rank 45th. Shots per 60 rank 77th. And he's got more points, obviously.
Yeah.
And top line, top power play in Colorado. So yeah, I 100% agree. Short term, Ross Colton's the better hold. But in terms of like all season, Mason McTavish in a vacuum is going to get way better opportunity than Ross Colton when everyone's healthy. So yeah, I would hang on to Ross Colton right now, but definitely if you have to choose, like when Colton gets booted off top power play inevitably,
Yeah,
when people come back, you gotta go with Mason McTavish at that point.
Yeah. Safer pick with McTavish, yeah.
Definitely. This is an interesting one. Team logo. Who's the better IR stash, Landeskog or Line? That's an interesting conversation because Landeskog is still a major question mark. We don't know a ton. Both of them are, obviously, because neither of them have. I mean, Landeskog hasn't played at all in the last 2 seasons. Laine's played very minimally and has had pretty catastrophic injuries. Landeskog, we really don't know what the timeline is. Laine, we do have a timeline. He's probably going to come back in December. Landeskog, it's like, it's so weird. People are like, close to the start of the season, and then I hear things like, oh no, there's still no timeline. It's like, is he ever coming back? I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to know. So I mean, what are your thoughts on that? What are you banking on the safety of Patrick Laine coming back, or are you banking on the upside of Landeskog, because Landeskog's points upside is higher?
Yes.
But there is a lot more unknown with him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the safety of Line A, yeah, as you said, Line A's safer. But I'm all about high ceilings, and I'm a bangers cat guy. If I was in a more points league, if I was in points league, Line A for sure. But bangers cats, I'm taking a risk. I'm keeping Line A on my IR. Yeah, he hasn't played in 2 games. I think Cale Makar's like skate dug into his knee. We not only has he, not had the NHL skating experience of the past 2 years, but yeah, we don't know what the long term effects of that are. Regardless, I'm keeping Landeskog.
I'm gonna be honest. I actually didn't know that until the Amazon documentary, where they
really?
where they had a slow motion video of it
Yeah.
happening, which is so disgusting.
Gross.
So yeah,
That
I did
sucks.
not like that at
At
all.
least they won the cup. I gotta say that
know.
would really suck if they didn't win the cup.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, I mean, I really hope the best for that guy. Like
Yeah.
he is, yeah, he's just he's so. He just seems like a great dude, and a really good,
totally.
and everyone thinks the best of him too. So you just know he's a really good guy. So
Yeah, he's awesome.
yeah. Narlucci says anywhere with Timo Meyer deployment. I don't know why people are worried about this. Why are people worried about this? He's still playing top line, top power play.
Did he? Is there
he
something
not?
we're not seeing? Let's.
Oh, actually, no. He did. You know what? He did get moved off the top power play. I'm wrong.
Oh no,
I'm wrong. Stefan Nason is on the top power play. That just coaches just love Nason as a net front guy.
Right?
They can't help themselves.
Big booty Nason.
I mean, to be honest, he's probably going to end up back on the top power play there at some point.
I'm actually as of October 15th from daily face off. He's on power play 1. Unless this morning he's saying in the practice line. Maybe this is out of date. This is from yesterday.
Yeah. Well, the last game against Carolina, which was last night, Nason was on the top power play. Yeah.
Gotcha. My bad. You're right.
No, that's okay. So yeah, I mean that is concerning, but I'm not terribly concerned about it. I think they'll probably get him back up there again. Rico says, boys, would you drop Jake Neighbors or Frank for Toronto? Interesting. I'd probably drop for Toronto, just because of deployment, not getting top power play, playing third line minutes. So that's a guy that I would in a points league for sure.
In a points league, yeah.
In a Bangers Cats, both of them have more value for sure. But yeah, if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably drop for Toronto at this point. Zudo says, what do you think of Dostal in Anaheim? I picked him up and I'm thinking he'd be good with so many off days. We kind of already talked about that. So yeah, Dostal, I have tempered excitement about him. Here's the question that I said I was going to get to, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this. JHar11 from the Discord and from Twitter. Elias Pettersson, are we worried or is this just a slow start? Also, if you were to try and trade low for him, who would you try to trade for him?
Oh, that's a good one.
What do you think, buddy?
So, unlike a lot of Canucks fans, I'm like the opposite of a doomer. I try to look at the bright side of negative things, and like he's got new line mates. He's went from his name's eluding me. He's on the Hawks, the guy who sucks and shoots whatever his name is. We got rid of him. He had nobody on his line last year. Mikheyev. Thank you. I don't know why I would forget such a memorable person. Like we've only played like 3 or 4 games. He's with some new talent. Give him a few more games. I know no one is really a fan of him, and he got bonitis. Maybe he's still recovering from that. I know it's annoying because Pettersson makes only $1 million less than McKinnon, and you kind of want more from a guy getting paid that kind of percentage of your cap. But no, I wouldn't be too worried as of yet. Try to trade low for him. I'm gonna bounce that to you. If you want Elias Pettersson, who would you trade as a buy low for him?
Yeah, I'm looking at some guys that are hot right now out of the gate. Maybe like a Clayton Keller.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mark Scheifele, if you could swing that. He's been pretty hot to start. Sam Bennett, if you could swing that. I doubt you could. But yeah, I'm looking at guys like Clayton Keller, Mark Scheifele. They're hot out of the gate that I think season long Pettersson will have more value than both of those guys. So Mark Kostelic has 5 points in 4 games for the Bruins. That's so insane to me. It's 20 hits as well. Anyway,
Damn.
sorry. That completely off topic, but yeah, I think Pettersson's probably going to be fine. He's got Jake DeBrusk on his wing now. He's still going to play on that top power play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to figure it out, but yeah, I mean, it is a little bit concerning the start, but again, it's been 3 games. The Canucks just haven't looked incredible. They just haven't looked completely connected, and they have made a lot of changes. So again, kind of like Nashville, under the hood, they've looked pretty decent. So I'm not too concerned about them as a team, and Pettersson, I think, I'm sure he'll figure it out.
Would you trade Dylan Genther and Clayton Keller for Pettersson?
Both of them?
Both of them?
Both of them, probably not. No.
Okay.
I just love the upside of Dylan Genther.
Yeah.
And Clayton Keller is like a point per game plus player. I just don't think that the upside for Pettersson is enough for me. And again, like Nate talked about this too. He's a little bit lower on Pettersson than the average the average population. I am too. Nothing personal. It's just one of those guys, right? That people are higher on than I am. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, no, I probably wouldn't do that. If I could get him for Keller straight up, that would be I'd be happy with that. But yeah, I he's just not a guy that I've rostered often. I did pick him up a couple years ago where he had that really terrible first half, and then just went nuts in the second half.
Oh, that I thought
traded,
you meant okay. Yeah.
I traded Trevor Zegras for him because it was Trevor Zegras' rookie season where he went to the All-Star game and did like the blindfolded thing. Right after that, everyone was so high on Trevor Zegras. I offered a guy Zegras for Pettersson, and then Pettersson just went off the rest of the season. It was awesome.
I love those. I love those.
But I don't play in leagues like that anymore where I can trick people into doing that.
Yeah.
Every league I'm in is extremely competitive.
Yeah.
We should probably finish up. We do have
it.
a few more from the chat here. Frank says, would someone let me know what's happening with Eric Gustafsson? I mean, they just don't like him, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, he's getting healthy scratched. That's really, really what's going on with Gustafsson right now.
Bad at defense.
Yeah, just not a good defensive player. A bit of a liability. But Mark Dupuis, Kyle Connor, or Fiala for Petty seems like a buy low. Yeah, I think so. Kyle Connor is maybe a little bit high, but yeah, no, I don't hate that. Kevin Fiala, definitely. I would definitely do that for sure. CG says healthy scratch last 2 games back. Oh, that's regarding Eric Gustafsson. Healthy scratch last 2 games, back in next game, off power play 1. So I mean, that really kills his value because he's probably, even if he's in the lineup, not going to play a ton of minutes. As CG says, that was for Frank, by the way. And then PB Stars also says Gus is back on power play 1 according to their beat writer today.
Man, that's annoying.
That was a fucking roller coaster.
That's so annoying.
Crazy. New says, with Kemper going to day, why am I cursed to harm the players on my team? What wrongdoings have I committed for these men to get hurt? Man, I think a seance is in order. Like I said, I have a team like that too, that has Barkov, Tavares, and Kachuk, and they're just doomed to. I'm doomed to be 0-2 out of the gate with that team.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? Just better to get these injuries out of the way now instead of your playoffs. Think about it like that, right?
Yeah. Smacked says, gun to your head, keep only one of Kochetkov and Annunen for rest of season upside. 100% Kochetkov. I don't think it's even close there. Yeah. And then the last question is from a guy named Nate. He says, would you rather have a vasectomy or watch a Boston-Montreal playoff series? I will say, the vasectomy was not that bad.
Yeah.
It was not as bad as I expected it to be.
I hear they're a good time.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was a good time. But I mean, the worst part was definitely how my doctor described it, putting the needle in your balls. Even that was not as bad as I expected. I was very nervous about that part.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was okay.
okay.
And honestly, the recovery was not terrible. I got a
Okay.
few days off work, which was
There
fine.
you go.
Just to make sure that I wasn't overexerting myself.
Good, good.
No, it wasn't that bad. That being said, I don't hate watching a Boston Montreal playoff series.
I kind of
because
love
it's
it.
My two
Yeah.
least favorite teams beating the fuck out of each other, and that's kind of fun to me. So I like. All things considered, vasectomy not that bad, but I probably still watch a playoff series between Boston and Montreal. I certainly would not choose to have another vasectomy if that was even possible, because
You wouldn't snip, snap, snip, snap. What about a reverse
no,
vasectomy?
yeah. Well, no, I mean, obviously, currently, like if I was a week later already having buyer's remorse for my vasectomy, I think there's probably a problem there. But
Yeah.
yeah. Oh man,
Are the boys back in business? You good or what?
oh yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, it's no problem at all. So we'll it remains to be seen whether or not it worked. You have to give a sample after 2 months just to prove that everything went as planned. But it certainly felt like it worked.
Yeah, right on.
That's for sure. I've said to some people that it felt kind of like obviously I was frozen, so like I didn't feel pain,
Yeah.
but it did kind of feel like when he said he was snipping it, it felt like a guitar string breaking, or like an elastic band like popping. So it was a weird sensation.
God, that's
So it was very weird. So on that note, I think we're gonna wrap this up.
great. I love it.
Please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you to those who already have. It's helped us a lot with our audience growth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got lots of fun video content over there. And also, if you do like our content, check out the Apples and Genos Patreon to support us on a monthly basis. Hop into the Apples and Genos Discord server as well. We're having lots of discussions about fantasy hockey in there. Link is in the description. Shoutouts to the band They're There for providing our music. Their Spotify link is in the episode description as well. Follow us on X. Nate is at Apples Genos. Blake is at Blake Creamer AG. I'm at JustJoshin41. Gugsy is in the Discord. Please practice safe stats and happy streaming.
Happy streaming, everyone. Thank you.
Have a good one, folks.
Excellent.
Peace.
Soon the championship will be ours. All ours.